This is Chad Lewis, one of the pastors of Sojourn Community Church, and this is a semi-informal learner group orientation video for leadership. And just a few reasons why we're doing this video instead of gathering everybody in a room. We're seeing that we're going to try to have these groups that roll out just over the next weeks and months, and maybe we can get something more permanent online, but this will have to do for right now. And we're not doing an orientation because we don't feel like you as leaders couldn't just rock learner groups just in any structure or form that you would choose to use. We do believe that many of y'all could do that. But what we want to do is keep the philosophy of Sojourn and some uniformity to group life and some of the non-negotiables. There is a lot of freedom, but there also are some things that are non-negotiable that we as pastors want to fight for and just make sure they're being taken care of. So this is orientation, and I'll just start by talking about learner groups. When can you meet as a learner group? And the first thing I'd like to say is that learner groups aren't going to be as bound to structure and schedule like a community group would be. A learner group, you can meet in the mornings, you can meet in the evenings, you can meet at lunch. It really is open to whatever your schedule fits and those who might be in your group, what schedule that fits. So you have a lot of freedom in that. We would ask that you meet at least every other week. It's usually best to meet weekly so that you can stay in people's lives and get a healthy rhythm, but we are willing to concede and say, well, how about once every 2 weeks to keep your learner group rolling like that. And some learner groups will meet in the evening and look a lot like a community group. So can you have gender-specific learner groups and learner groups that have married couples and children and all those sorts of, and I'd say sure. Some learner groups might be 5 guys studying Wayne Grudem's Bible doctrine. So that's a group that maybe meets in the morning or evening. It's really open to a lot. Some groups may be a group of women with a leader that get together and study biblical femininity. There's a lot of options well beyond that too. We have some ladies that want to study Bible doctrine as well, and it's going to be a really good study. But then some groups will be married couples and singles and single men, single women, just all stages and walks of life that meet together on a nightly basis once a week. And they do a study together throughout the year. It could be a shorter study or a longer study. But they get together, and for learner groups, we're going to offer child care reimbursement, just like for community groups, so that you can have the freedom to not feel constrained about trying to figure out a plan for child care, and I'll talk more about that in a little bit. So learner groups can look a lot of different ways. I said in a kind of a promo video launching out for leaders that there are some non-negotiables, and I drew a circle up on a whiteboard and said the top half of that circle would be the identity of learners. So you're gathering together. Most of your time is going to be spent learning. You'll have to give assignments out, maybe a syllabus, or just as the weeks go on, say read this and think about it, maybe think about these application questions for your life, and then we'll come back and talk about it. But that's kind of the majority of your group time will be spent like that. But let me paint some pictures of what we don't desire for these groups to look like. We believe kind of the two-wing church here, gatherings on Sundays and then groups throughout the week, and we desire that groups be all about gospel relationships, people in each other's lives. And so this is something that we don't desire to see with a learner group. So here's a Tuesday night, got married couples coming in, got singles coming in. They walk into your home, you say a few highs, and then you sit in chairs, and then someone stands up and teaches for an hour, hour and a half, asks a few questions, and gets some Bible answers, and then people get up and walk out. That's not ideal at all for what we're desiring for groups. There's a place for teaching and awesome things like that. But what we desire is for our learner groups to be more holistic in relational approaches as well. So let me paint a picture of what I envision a learning group looking like. Same scenario, you've got a gifted teacher who may be leading the group, and so married couples come in, singles come in, you have a greeting time, you hang out, do life, get into each other's lives. And then as people have had an assignment and they pull out their books or whatever you're going through, you as a leader sit with them in a circle, however that may look in your house or wherever you may be meeting, and you begin a dialogue with your people. There will definitely be times of teaching, and there's a great place for that, and we don't want to hinder you from using your gift of teaching. But I would encourage you and seek to figure out a game plan for how this looks for your different contexts, depending on what your groups look like, to ask a lot of provoking questions as you go, and those questions to apply things to people's lives. Sometimes when you're a teacher, it's easiest for when questions come out, like I know for me, like it's real quick that I want to be answering things like boom, boom, quick on the draw, quick draw McGraw or something like that. But I've learned here even in recent years that sometimes the best question coming to a leader can be kicked back to a group and to say, well, what do y'all think about that? And the reason is not because you don't have the answer or you can't wax eloquently on that, and you may need to at some point. But what we want to see is our people grow and be discipled and be equipped. We want the leader to be able to hear the answers of people in your group and be able even to address those things outside of group and within group. So you're going around and you may have a question come up about the love of God. And this is a simplistic example, but I'll just roll with it. So you're talking about it, and then someone says, well, does God always love me? And then you say, well, guys, what do y'all think about that? And you go around and someone says, yeah, Romans 8:38-39 says nothing can separate us from the love of God. And then someone over here, as y'all continue to dialogue, says, yeah, I read that, but I'm just not really sure, because I think when I sin that I'm separated from God and that He just doesn't love me anymore. So your ears go up, you know, you get some red flags going up, and you go, yeah, what do y'all think about that? Let's address that. Is that true? And so it can be addressed in the group. There can be a corrective dynamic within the group, within the body of Christ. And then also I would encourage you as a leader, if it's a female and you're a male leader, having your spouse or a single lady, just making sure they follow up and say, hey, let's get coffee and let's talk about that. What kind of situations are you in that you think that just basically pull you out of the love of God? Let's talk about that, because that's not truth, and I just want to gently probe that and journey with you on that. So it's a holistic example of what we are to be doing in relationships. And we want to say quick, like, if our Christian life is reduced to 2 hours on Sunday with that one wing, and then an hour and a half on a Tuesday night, and that's all the Christian relationships we have, we're going to be in trouble. So we want to foster Christian community, and we realize everyone's busy like crazy, but we want to be able to fulfill the one another commandments that are in Scripture, and we got to do that life on life, and that's through emails, through phone calls, and through all sorts of things. And as a leader, that doesn't mean that you're doing all of that, but you're helping facilitate that, saying, you know, you heard that, why don't y'all get together and talk about that, and just helping different things like that. If you're a guys group meeting in the morning, I would encourage you, if you're 5 guys walking through Bible Doctrine by Wayne Grudem, you come together and you seek to ask questions. You don't just come as the leader and say, okay, let me teach you guys what this says, and boom, 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 boom. What I would desire for you to do is have a game plan of how you can be in each other's lives and ask some simple questions. Whenever I'm leading guys through Bible doctrine, I ask, how does this doctrine help you know God more? And so I don't just stop there. I say, how does this help you know God more? And then I say, how does this help you worship God? Or how does this stir your affections? And how does this help you know Him and love Him more? And how does it engage your heart to praise? And sometimes when I ask myself that question, I'll just have to honestly say, you know, I looked at this doctrine this week and I read about it, and I wasn't stirred to worship at all. I was just pretty dry inside. And so I need guys to probe into my life. And so it's more of a family dynamic as we go through. Of course, there will be times where you as the leader will interject in and answer questions, and even be able to say at times, honestly, I don't know the answer to that, but I'll talk to the pastors, I'll talk to other people, and I'll find out for you. And then we'll continue those dialogues. And it's all a learning situation for us all. We're all learning. None of us have figured it all out. We all are growing to learn